Arthur woke up and instantly regretted it. Hangovers he'd had, but never anything on this scale. This was it. This was the big one. This was the ultimate pits. Matter transference beams, he decided, were not as much fun as, say, a good solid kick in the head. Being for the moment unwilling to move on account of a dull stomping throb he was experiencing, he lay a while and thought. The trouble with most forms of transport, he thought, is basically one of them not being worth all the bother. On Earth, when there had been an Earth before it was demolished to make way for a new hyperspace bypass, the problem had been with cars. The disadvantages involved in pulling lots of black sticky slime from out of the ground were to be safely hidden out of harm's way. Turning it into tar to cover the land with, smoke to fill the air with, and pouring the rest into the sea, all seemed to outweigh the advantages of being able to get more quickly from one place to another, particularly when the place you arrived at had probably become, as a result of this, very similar to the place you had left, for instance covered with tar, full of smoke, and short of fish. And what about matter transference beams? Any form of transport which involved tearing you apart atom by atom, flinging those atoms through the sub-ether, and then jamming them back together again just when they were getting their first taste of freedom for years, had to be bad news. Many people had thought exactly this before Arthur Dent, and had even gone to the lengths of writing songs about it. Here is one that was regularly chanted by huge crowds outside the Sirius Cybernetics Corporation Teleport Systems factory on Happy World 3.
Yes, sir! Aldebaran's great, okay. Albo's pretty neat. Beetlejuice's pretty girls will knock you off your feet. They'll do anything you like, real fast and then real slow. But if you have to take me apart to get me there, then I don't wanna go. Singing, take me apart, what a way to roam. And if you have to take me apart to get me there, I'd rather stay at home. Yes, sir! Sirius is paved with gold, so I've heard it said. Buy nuts who then go on to say, see Tau before you're dead. I'll gladly take the high road, or even take the low. But if you have to take me apart to get me there, then I, for one, won't go. Singing, take me apart, you must be off your head. And if you try to take me apart to get me there, I'll stay right here in bed. I teleported home one night with Ron and Sid and Meg. Ron stole Maggie's heart away, and I got Sydney's leg.
Arthur felt the waves of pain slowly receding. They were still aware of a dull stomping throb. Slowly, carefully, he stood up. "Can you hear a dull stomping throb?" said Ford Prefect. Arthur spun round and wobbled uncertainly. Ford Prefect was approaching, looking red-eyed and pasty. "Where are we?" gasped Arthur. Ford looked around. They were standing in a long curving corridor which stretched out of sight in both directions. The outer steel wall, which was painted in that sickly shade of pale green, which they used in schools, hospitals and mental asylums to keep the inmates subdued, curved over the tops of their heads where it met the inner perpendicular wall, which oddly enough was covered in dark brown Hessian wall weave. The floor was of dark green ribbed rubber. Ford moved over to a very thick, dark, transparent panel set in the outer wall. It was several layers deep, yet through it he could see pinpoints of distant stars. "I think we're in a spaceship of some kind," he said. Down the corridor came the sound of a dull, stomping throb. "Trillion?" called Arthur nervously. "Zaphod?" Ford shrugged. "Nowhere about," he said. "I've looked. They could be anywhere. An unprogrammed teleport can throw you light years in any direction. Judging by the way I feel, I think we've travelled a very long way indeed." "And how do you feel?" "Bad." "Do you think they're where they are, how they are? There's no way we can know, and no way we can do anything about it. Do what I do." "What?" "Well, don't think about it." Arthur turned this thought over in his mind reluctantly, saw the wisdom of it, tucked it up and put it away. He took a deep breath. "Footsteps!" exclaimed Ford suddenly. "Where?" "That noise, that stomping throb, pounding feet, listen." Arthur listened. The noise echoed round the corridor at them from an indeterminate distance. It was the muffled sound of pounding footsteps, and it was noticeably louder. "Let's move," said Ford sharply. They both moved, in opposite directions. "Not that way," Ford said. "That's where they're coming from." "No, it's not," said Arthur. "They're coming from that way." "They're not, They both stopped. They both turned. They both listened intently. They both agreed with each other. They both set off into opposite directions again. Fear gripped them. From both directions the noise was getting louder. A few yards to their left another corridor ran at right angles to the inner wall. They ran to it and hurried along it. It was dark, immensely long, and as they passed down it, gave them the impression that it was getting colder and colder. Other corridors branched off it to the left and right, each very dark, and each subjecting them to sharp blasts of icy air as they passed. They stopped for a moment in alarm. The further down the corridor they went, the louder became the sound of pounding feet. They pressed themselves back against the cold wall and listened furiously. The cold, the dark, and the drumming of disembodied feet was getting to them badly. Ford shivered, partly with the cold, but partly with the memory of stories his favourite mother used to tell him when he was a mere slip of a Betelgeusian, ankle-high to an Arcturian mega grasshopper. Stories of dead ships, haunted hulks that roamed restlessly around the obscure regions of deep space, infested with demons or the ghosts of forgotten crews. Stories, too, of incautious travellers who found and entered such ships. Stories of... Then Ford remembered the brown Hessian wall weave in the first corridor and pulled himself together. However ghosts and demons may choose to decorate their death hulks, he thought to himself, he would lay any money you liked it wasn't with Hessian wall weave. He grasped Arthur by the arm. "Back the way we came," he said firmly, and they started to retrace their steps. A moment later they leaped like startled lizards down the nearest corridor junction as the owners of the drumming feet suddenly hove into view directly in front of them. Hidden behind a corner, they goggled in amazement as about 24 overweight men and women pounded past them in tracksuits, panting and wheezing in a manner that would make a heart surgeon gibber. Ford Prefect stared after them. "Joggers!" he hissed, as the sound of their feet echoed away up and down the network of corridors. "Joggers?" whispered Arthur Dent. "Joggers," said Ford Prefect with a shrug. The corridor they were concealed in was not like the others. It was very short and ended at a large steel door. Ford examined it, discovered the opening mechanism and pushed it wide. The first thing that hit their eyes was what appeared to be a coffin, and the next 4,999 things that hit their eyes were also coffins. The vault was low-ceilinged, dimly lit and gigantic. At the far end, about 300 yards away, an archway led through to what appeared to be a similar chamber, similarly occupied. Ford Prefect let out a low whistle as he stepped down onto the floor of the vault. "Well," he said, "What's so great about dead people?" asked Arthur, nervously stepping down after him. "Dunno," said Ford. "Let's find out, shall we?" On closer inspection, the coffins seemed to be more like sarcophagi. They stood about waist high and were constructed of what appeared to be white marble, which is almost certainly what it was, something that only appeared to be white marble. Tops were semi-translucent, and through them could be dimly perceived the features of their late and presumably lamented occupants. They were humanoid, and had clearly left the troubles of whatever world it was they came from far behind them, but beyond that, little else could be discerned. Rolling slowly round the floor between the sarcophagi was a heavy, oily white gas, which Arthur at first thought might be there to give the place a little atmosphere, until he discovered that it also froze his ankles. The sarcophagi, too, were intensely cold to the touch. Ford suddenly crouched down beside one of them. He pulled a corner of his towel out of his satchel and started to rub furiously at something. "Look, there's a plaque on this one," he explained to Arthur. "It's frosted over." He rubbed the frost clear and examined the engraved characters. To Arthur, they looked like the footprints of a spider that had had one too many of whatever it is that spiders have on a night out. But Ford instantly recognised an early form of galactic Iserid. It says, "Golgafrincham Arc Fleet, Ship B, Hold 7, Telephone Sonatizer 2nd Class," and a serial number. "A telephone sanitizer?" said Arthur. "A dead telephone sanitizer? Best kind. But what's he doing here?" Ford peered through the top at the figure within. "Not a lot," he said, and suddenly flashed one of these grins of his which always made people think he'd been overdoing things recently and should try to get some rest. He scampered over to another sarcophagus. A moment's brisk towel work, and he announced, "This one's a dead hairdresser. Whoopee!" The next sarcophagus revealed itself to be the last resting place of an advertising account executive. The one after that contained a second-hand car salesman, 3rd class. An inspection hatch let into the floor suddenly caught Ford's attention, and he squatted down to unfasten it, flashing away at the clouds of freezing gas that threatened to envelop him. A thought occurred to Arthur. "If these are just coffins," he said, "why are they kept so cold? Or indeed, why are they kept anyway?" said Ford, tugging at the hatchway open. The gas poured down through it. Why in fact is anyone going through all this trouble and expense of carting 5,000 dead bodies through space? 10,000, said Arthur, pointing at the archway through which the next chamber was dimly visible. Ford stuck his head down through the floor hatchway. He looked up again. 15,000, he said. "There's another lot down there." 15 million, said a voice. "That's a lot," said Ford. "A lot, a lot." "Turn around slowly," barked the voice, "and put your hands up. Any other move and I blast you into tiny, tiny bits." "Hello," said Ford, turning around slowly, putting his hands up and not making any other move. "Why," said Arthur Dent, "isn't anyone ever pleased to see us?" Standing silhouetted in the doorway through which they had entered the vault was the man who wasn't pleased to see them. His displeasure was communicated partly by the barking, hectoring quality of his voice, and partly by the viciousness with which he waved a long silver kilo-zap gun at them. The designer of the gun had clearly not been instructed to beat about the bush. "Make it evil," he'd been told. "Make it totally clear that this gun has a right end and a wrong end. Make it totally clear to anyone standing at the wrong end that things are going badly for them." If that means sticking all sorts of spikes and prongs and blackened bits all over it, then so be it. This is not a gun for hanging over the fireplace or sticking it in the umbrella stand. It's a gun for going out and making people miserable with. Ford and Arthur looked at the gun unhappily. The man with the gun moved from the door and circled round them. As he came into the light, they could see his black and gold uniform, on which the buttons were so highly polished that they shone with an intensity that would have made an approaching motorist flash his lights in annoyance. He gestured at the door. "Out," he said. "People who can supply that amount of firepower don't need to supply verbs as well." Ford and Arthur went out, closely followed by the wrong end of the Kilozap gun and the buttons. Turning into the corridor, they were jostled by 24 oncoming joggers, now showered and changed, who swept on past them into the vault. Arthur turned to watch them in confusion. "Move!" screamed their captor. Arthur moved. Ford shrugged and moved. In the vault, the joggers went to 24 empty sarcophagi along the side wall, opened them and climbed in, and fell into 24 dreamless sleeps.
I hope you'll join us at the restaurant at the end of the universe when the next chapter drops very soon.